The primary goal of any rideshare driver, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, is simple: to turn a profit. We don't drive for sympathy. Or do we? That's what we're going to discuss today. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride-sharing video. Have you ever taken a sympathy trip? That's what we're going to be talking about today. A trip that's not necessarily profitable, maybe even perhaps at a loss, but you did it out of sympathy. Have you ever done something like that? Let's give you a real quick story of mine, and I want to hear from you folks in the comments. What the hell would you do on some shit like this? Now, in my market, due to my very low acceptance rate, I make it clear I don't accept bullshit. What do we say? Know your worth. I'm not told from Uber where the passenger's destination is when they send me the trips. So everybody I go to pick up, I don't know where the hell they're going until they get in the vehicle and I, swipe start the trip. On my way home, I've taken a few trips for the day. There is a $3 surge trip less than a mile from where I'm currently at. I'm on my way home, but I'm still logged in just to see what the hell pops up. Trip pops up less than a mile away from where I currently am. $3 surge. All right, listen, I'm on my way home. I'll take one trip. Fuck it. So I drive to pick the passenger up, and on my way, a sign pops up: passenger by the emergency room exit. So we're going to a medical facility. Now, you know, in my previous videos, I've made it clear I don't fuck with medical facilities for a host of reasons. One being, I don't like sick people in my shit. So a hell of a lot of things can go wrong. Oftentimes when you're picking up folks at hospitals and clinics, you're picking up elderly folks who need assistance getting in your vehicles with wheelchairs and things like that. And look, the tipping in this game is so fucking low. Why deliberately take passengers where you're going to have to do more work? So understand that I don't normally fuck with emergency rooms or hospitals, but I took this trip. I arrive, a nurse comes out to the vehicle, yet another bad sign, but she says, "We have a passenger and I'll be back in 5 or 2 minutes," or whatever the hell it was. It was only a few seconds. She came, rolled somebody out in a wheelchair, an older woman, and the woman was assisted climbing into my vehicle. Now, you already know what I'm thinking. If they had to help her in this shit, I got to help her out. Once again, I'm not a fan of that. But she gets in the vehicle. They hand me her belongings, and I throw them on the back seat. Swipe start trip. Boom. She's going to a neighboring town 20 miles away, some 20 miles away from where I'm at. Now, this is obviously a major red flag for most of us in ride sharing. 20 miles out means you got to come 20 miles back in. And in my market, and I'm assuming in most of you folks' markets out there, the chance of you getting a trip coming back is really low. In some cases, virtually zero. In my particular market, the chance of getting a trip back from her location, I won't rate any damn thing at 100% because none's perfect. 99.9% chance nobody's going to come back with me, for the simple fact is Uber doesn't even operate in the town she fucking lives in. In fact, you probably got to drive at least 10 miles coming back towards where I was at before you finally start getting within range of Uber or Lyft. So it's impossible to get a trip coming back because she's going to a town where Uber and Lyft does not even fucking exist. So I immediately tell her and the nurse, "I'm sorry, I don't drive that far out." Instant sad face. It's literally like being in the kennel and telling the puppy, "I'm sorry, I can't take you home today." This woman looked very sad. She stated she had been waiting for a car. She was eager to leave the hospital, had been waiting for an hour. And here I am, I show up, and I don't told her, "You got to get out of my shit as well." It is 4 degrees. In fact, when I started making this video, it was 4 degrees. My car radio says it's now 3 degrees outside. This woman was in very light clothing. The nurse pushed her out of the hospital, helped her get in my car, so it was only a few seconds she was outside. I'm telling her she got to get out of my car, which means she got to get and go back outside. So what I want to ask you folks, an old lady really wanting to get out of the hospital. I'm here, I got the car, nice warm vehicle, you're sitting on leather, what the hell? Would you have done the trip? 20-mile trip, $3 surge, but the entire 20 miles back is going to be at your expense. Would you have done it? In my market, that 20 miles was probably going to be about 40 minute drive one way. So you're talking 80 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes to complete there and back. 20 miles, $3 surge. Have you ever done a sympathy trip where you felt fairly confident this trip ain't gonna pay me shit, but the passenger really needed you to take them from point A to point B? Maybe didn't have much money to sweeten the pot or anything. You just simply did it out of sympathy. Have you ever taken a trip like that? Why do I stay away from hospitals? I told you in the beginning, sick passengers, folks who may need assistance, disabled folks. But the number one reason, there's no tipping. Now, if this woman needing to go to a different town where I throw you an extra 35, 40 bucks, all sorts of weird shit starts happening. Suddenly a no man turns into a yes guy. None of that's going to happen when you're dealing with trips where a third party has arranged the details. The clinic, the hospital in this case, has some type of deal, perhaps with the ride-sharing company or something with the state or whatever the hell may be, but they pay for this passenger to go home. So none of this shit tips the driver. There are no tips when you're dealing with third-party trips. That is why I am a staunch opponent of doing third-party trips. None of that shit comes with tips. Clinics, in this case hospitals, sometimes they use, in some markets they actually use Uber and Lyft drivers to get kids back and forth to school. Obviously fucking with teens has a whole different ball game to it as well, why you should stay away from it. But any trip, rehab centers, you name it, any trip that's booked by a third party almost certainly has no tipping involved. And in this case, because it's a 20-mile return at my own expense, it made it rather easy to say no to the woman based on financial aspects of the trip. But I really felt sympathetic kicking out an old lady. She had to be late 60s, getting in the vehicle, out of the freezing cold, eager to go home after being in the hospital. Anybody who spent the night in the hospital is damn near one step above jail. You ready to go home when you get out. Would you have done that trip knowing that you probably would have either barely broke even or even lost money on it? Would you have done that trip? Let your boy know in the comments. Sympathy trips is the discussion. As always, subscribe to the damn channel, and I'll see you in the next video.